everyone, it's Affy, and today I am here to do a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I've been wanting to do this for a while. In fact, I actually did record this like over a year ago and never ended up posting it. So this is me redoing this video. But Beauty and the Beast retellings are some of my favorite. I decided I would do a video going over all of my faves. These are in no particular order. So the first book I have here is by Teresa Medeiros. This is Yours Until Dawn. In this book, we have Gabriel and Samantha, and Gabriel is a war hero who is blind. He was hurt during the war and is now blind, and he is very, very upset about it. That's one thing I will say is very common in the heroes in these Beauty and the Beast retellings. They are very, very unhappy, very mad and angry men. Gabriel is very unhappy about the fact that he cannot see, and he makes it well known. He is always stomping around the house, destroying everything. The staff are just at their wits' end. He has fired and gotten rid of every single nurse they've tried to hire for him. And so finally they bring in Samantha. And Samantha is like, you're not going to get rid of me. He tries everything he can. He is rude to her. He like fires her, and she's basically like, no, I'm going to continue being your nurse. He is very, very upset by this, and he doubles down on his efforts to get her to quit. But she won't. She comes very close to it because he is very annoying in the way that he treats her. So she almost quits at one point, but she's like, no, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to stick it out. He finally realizes he's not going to be able to get rid of her, and she teaches him how to use a walking stick to get around the house. Teaches him like paces so that he knows how much space there is, or paces there are between one piece of furniture and like maybe the door to the room. She helps teach him how to eat without hurting himself or like making a giant mess. She's definitely making all these changes and helping him kind of get his life together again. This one has a pretty cool twist at the end of it. This one is a lot of fun. I would say it's one of the best books out of the bunch that I'm going to be going over. It was a book that I gave 4 stars the first time I read it, and actually bumped it up to 5 stars the second time I read it. So you know it's good. And this is a very, very popular book. It's very well loved. The next book I have here is by Eloisa James. This is When Beauty Tamed the Beast. And this has a step back. In this book we have Pierce and Lynette. And Lynette has been shunned by society. She was wearing a gown to a ball that made her look pregnant, and so everybody in society just assumed that, you know, she must be with child, and therefore we're not going to talk to her because she's an unmarried woman. Her aunt makes a deal with Pierce's father. Pierce's dad is like a duke, and Pierce is an earl, and they make like this pact, the two of them, that since Lynette is not going to be able to find a husband in town, that maybe she would be a good fit for his son. And Pierce is a doctor. He is he's got like a messed up leg. He is he's kind of an unpleasant person to be around. And so it's really, really hard to find him like a wife. He also can't have kids because when he hurt his leg, it was assumed that he would not be able to have children. Because people think that she is pregnant, they're like, oh, just, you know, continue to pretend that you're pregnant and tell this Pierce guy that, you know, since he can't have a child of his own, you know, we can always make it look like this child is his child. And she's like, that's dumb. That's not going to work. And it doesn't, because he's able to tell immediately that she's not pregnant. Like I said, he is a doctor, and he's got patients living in this home with him. And they spend a lot of time together, especially in the mornings, getting to know one another. And it goes from there. This one was very entertaining because Pierce is, like I said, he's very surly and sarcastic. And if you've ever seen the show House, it could also, is it House MD or just House? I can't remember the name of the show 100%. But he gives the vibes of the doctor from House. He's very sarcastic. He's very intelligent and knows how intelligent he is, and basically thinks everybody else is an idiot in comparison to him. Lynette does not seem to care. She's able to go toe-to-toe with this man, and this was a glorious book. I had so much fun with this one. The next book I have here is by Amanda Quick. This is Ravished. And don't mind the sticker on the front there. I couldn't get it off. So in this book we have Harriet and Gideon. Gideon is known as the Beast of Blackthorn Hall. He was supposed to marry a woman, and something happened to her. And because he's scarred, people just kind of fear him. They're like, you know, he might have done something to his ex-fiance, like, we don't know, and he's scarred and scary looking, and so people are just kind of scared of him. Harriet goes to him. He's an earl, I believe, and his family owns the land that she lives on. It's like a coastal seaside town. Harriet is she's really into fossils, and there's a cave near town that she found a fossil in, and she's really excited about it. But one day she realizes there are men who are smuggling and bringing items into the cave. And so she goes to Gideon and basically tells him, like, look, there are people who are smuggling, and I really need you to do something about it, because this is my cave and I don't want anybody messing around in my cave. They catch the smugglers, but then they get stuck inside of the cave together alone overnight. And in the morning, he basically has to ask her to marry him because they were alone together all night in a cave. And it's gonna look really bad. So they basically are like, I guess we're gonna have to get married. And this one is very interesting. Harriet is a very interesting character. She's bold, and she's bold. I like her though. She's a lot of fun. She's obsessed with her fossils though. Like, she is overly obsessed with her fossils. This girl that's all she talks about for a lot of the book is her fossils. It's a good one. I enjoyed this one. As with all Amanda Quick books, this one has a lot of action, and our heroine, like I said, is pretty amazing. She's a really cool chick. The next book is by Elizabeth Hoyt. This is The Raven Prince. So in this book we have Anna and Edward, and Edward is an earl, and Anna is a widow. Her husband has passed away, and she still lives with her mother-in-law, and they are pretty much out of money. So Anna decides that she's going to need to find work, and she finds work as a secretary for Edward. Edward is very taken by her. He finds it very hard to work with her around, but he doesn't want to get rid of her as his secretary because she does a good job. So he spends a lot of his time trying not to make out with his secretary and having a really hard time with it. He realizes that, he can't sleep with her because she's his employee, and he really needs to kind of like get it out of his system. And so he decides to go all the way to London, because they're out in the country. He decides he's going to go all the way out to London and go to a brothel and visit a woman at a brothel. And she finds out that he's going to do this, and she's into him as well, but she hasn't said so. So neither of them really know the other person is interested in them, but she decides to take this chance, and she goes and wears a mask and slips into this brothel that he's going to, and they end up spending a night together. And this was such an interesting aspect of the story. Like, it was just, I was like, that feels very random, but like, I don't know, it kind of worked as well. So this was kind of a weird one, but I did enjoy it. I think I gave this 5 stars. It's been a while since I read it. But Edward is another grumpy hero. He's the type that kind of throws fits like he's a child. Like, there were times where I was like, really, we're gonna throw things? Like, come on, dude. Like, come on. He's got pockmarks from getting... What was he sick with? I don't even remember. He had something. Maybe it was smallpox. And he ended up with all these marks all over his face. And because of that, he feels, like he's very unattractive. And so yeah, this one was interesting. It was definitely very interesting. The next book that I have is by Lorraine Heath. This is Beuaty the Beast. This is part of the Sins for All Seasons series. And in this one, we have Althea and Beast. Althea's family has recently lost everything. They were nobility, but their father got caught trying to plot an assassination against the queen. And they were stripped of everything. Their titles, their homes, their money, everything. So Althea and her brother are living in Whitechapel now, and she has had to take a job. And her job is as a barmaid at a, why can't I think of words right now? At a bar, a barmaid at a bar. The bar is owned by Beast's sister, Gilly. And she has been working there for a few weeks when Beast notices her one day, and he's like, something about this girl, like, he can tell that she's high society. Beast can tell that she is nobility. He's like, it's the way she walks, the way she talks. Like, I can tell this woman is not, she shouldn't be working here. He propositions her, and at first she thinks it's for sex. So she's like, absolutely not. And she refuses to talk to him. But then something happens, and when she sees him again, she's like, fine, what was your proposition? Like, I'll hear you out. And so he basically asks her to come to the place that he lives. He actually stays at a brothel, and he helps the women at this brothel find jobs and find their way out of having to work as prostitutes. And so he's like, all you have to do is help these women, like train them so that they can find jobs outside of prostitution. She's like, okay, I'm fine with doing that because it'll give me a place to stay. Like, she and her brother are struggling to find a place to stay. So she's like, all right, like, as long as you give me a place to stay, that'll be great. But also, I'm going to become a courtesan, and I need help and lessons on seduction to figure out kind of how to do that. And so he agrees to give her lessons in seduction, and she agrees to help train the women in the brothel. And so it goes on from there. She moves into the brothel with him and the other women, and it's very interesting. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. This one was very touching. It was surprisingly very, very touching. Even though his name is Beast, he's definitely very unbeastly. He's just a big guy that scares everybody, so they call him Beast. But he's very, very sweet man, and there are quite a few like very touching moments in this book. So I was a little surprised by that, but this is a good one. This is a really, really good one. The next book I have is by Karen Rainey. This is To Love a Scottish Lord. And this one isn't expressly stated as a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but as I was reading it, I was like, this is definitely a Beauty and the Beast retelling. In this book, we have Hamish and Mary. This is set in Scotland. And Hamish was in India and had been kidnapped and tortured for, I think, like a year or so. And he has basically a lame arm now. They did something to him and destroyed one of his arms. And so his brother, he's living in a castle out in the middle of the countryside, and he's just kind of there by himself. He doesn't really want to be around people, and so his brother shows up one day and is like, look, I'm gonna get you a nurse, you know, maybe she can help you out around the place and help you with your arm. And he's like, no. And his brother's like, please, like, let somebody help you, like, you can't just stay here by yourself. And he's like, fine. So his brother hires Mary, who is a nurse, and she's from the nearest town. And she comes, and at first he's still like very not into the idea of having a nurse, but he finally decides to accept it. They're like playing a game one day, and he propositions her and for sex, and she is a widow, so she's kind of lonely, and she's like, you know what, like, let's do it, let's get our freak on. And so they start sleeping together, and he kicks everybody else out of the castle, and it's basically just the two of them staying together in this castle, just her taking care of him and them screwing. And they do this for several weeks until people start noticing that she's been gone for quite a while. And it kind of goes from there. This one got very, very interesting towards the end. A little bit of suspense towards the end of the book that was very, very, yeah, it was different. I was not expecting what went down to go down. It just kind of took a turn. I was like, oh, did not see that coming. So if you read this one, it's definitely got some interesting twists and turns, but it's a good one. I really, really enjoyed myself, and I believe I gave this 5 stars. The next book that I have is by Elizabeth Hoyt. This is To Beguile a Beast, and this one has a step back in it. And in this one, we have Sir Alistair and Helen. And Helen is, she's basically like the side piece to a duke. And she's had 2 children for this man, and he has kind of written her off. He doesn't pay attention to her or their children, and he just kind of ignores them. But he won't let her leave him. And so she decides she's going to try and run away again with her children, and a friend tells her to go and stay with a man named Sir Alistair in Scotland. He is a recluse and doesn't talk to anybody, and they're like, that's the perfect place to hide, is with the person that is just, you know, never speaks to anybody. So she takes her children and goes all the way up to Scotland to go meet Sir Alistair. And the first night, he's willing to allow them to stay there, but he's like, in the morning, I'm getting you a carriage and you're leaving. And she's like, all right, well, I guess we'll have to take what we can get. And so in the morning, he gets them a carriage. He puts them in the carriage, and they go off on their merry little way. And then a few hours later, they come back, and she has hired a footman, she has hired a cook, she has hired a maid, and she's basically like, yeah, so I figured you needed some staff. You're here all by yourself. You need staff. And I could be your housekeeper. Let's just do this. Let's just have all these people come to your house. I'll be your housekeeper, and you need the help. So that's what we're going to do. And he's like, I didn't ask for any of this. And she's like, well, you need it. So I'm going to be your housekeeper, and this is what we're going to do. And he's just like, he just throws his hands up. He's like, all right, well, I can't kick her out, so I guess this is what we're doing. So she sticks around with her 2 children, and it goes on from there. This one was, yeah, that whole premise made me laugh so hard because she was just like, we're not going anywhere. But it's an interesting one, and I did enjoy myself with this one. I believe I gave it 4 stars, and this is one that I had read for the Ever After-a-thon earlier this year. And it was definitely one of the better books of the month. So I enjoyed this one. The next book I have is by Teresa Medeiros. This is The Bride and the Beast. And in this book we have Gwendolyn and Bernard. And Gwendolyn had a crush on Bernard as a child. He was the son of the laird, and when the Battle of Culloden happened, this is the mid-1700s, so when the Battle of Culloden happened, basically Bernard's family were killed because his father, like I said, was the laird. The castle where Bernard's family had lived has been sitting empty for like years now. And then all of a sudden, the townspeople start getting these letters in the town square from someone calling themselves the Beast. The Beast asks for things like food and alcohol and like fabrics and all this like random stuff. And for a while, they're like, this is kind of weird, but we'll just give this beast whatever it wants, and hopefully eventually it'll leave us alone. But then one day they get a letter from the Beast asking for 1,000 pounds. It says that the Beast wants 1,000 pounds from the person that betrayed the family of the laird. So somebody in the town had betrayed the laird and his family to the British, and the Beast is asking for that money back. The townspeople are like, well, we don't know who would have done that. Like, we all care about our laird. We all loved our laird. Like, nobody in this town did that. And we don't have the money. We don't have 1,000 pounds to just give up, like, even collectively. So they decide, well, what's the one thing that beasts like? And they're like, well, dragons always like a virgin sacrifice. And so the townspeople decide they're going to give the Beast a virgin sacrifice, and Gwendolyn is the only virgin in town. She has 3 sisters who are all unmarried, but they're a bunch of loose, lascivious women, and so she's the only one left who has not slept with anybody, and she gets thrown up on a tree and tied up and left there for the Beast to find outside of the castle. She wakes up inside the castle and finds herself in this beautifully appointed room with fancy clothes to wear, and it kind of goes from there. There's a guy in the castle, and he calls himself the dragon, and he hides his face. He won't allow her to see what he looks like. And this one was, it was interesting. I didn't like it as much as Yours Until Dawn. I feel like that was the better out of the 2 of them. But this one was definitely very interesting, and just like the way the story comes about was very interesting to me. There are a couple of things that I think were supposed to be twists, but I saw them coming. It was good. It was good. I enjoyed it. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. The next book that I have is by Tessa Dare. This is Romancing the Duke. This is part of the Castles Ever After series. In this book we have Izzy and Ransom. And Ransom is a duke. And so Izzy is, she has lost her father, and she recently lost an uncle, but he left her a castle. And she doesn't have anywhere to go, so she decides she's just going to go stay at this castle that her uncle had left her. And so she shows up, and she's thinking that you know, this is going to be her castle, but there's already a man living in the castle. And it turns out it's Ransom. He's a duke. This is his castle, according to him. And Ransom is blind. He's very grumpy, as I said with most of these heroes. He's a grump. And he is very, very shocked by the fact that there's a random woman on his doorstep, but he won't kick her out because she has no place to go. So he's like, I guess I'm just gonna have to share my castle. And so she ends up staying at this castle, and it's their romance. And this one, I would say out of all these books, this one is probably the funniest one. This one had me hooting and hollering, and it's Tessa Dare, so anything by Tessa Dare is going to be funny and a good, jolly good time. So I really, really enjoyed this one, and there were some great scenes in here that live rent-free in my mind. So if you want to check out some good Beuaty and the Beast retellings, this is a really, really good one to start with. The next book that I have here is by Amelie Howard. This is The Beast of Beswick. In this book we have Astrid and Nathaniel. So Astrid is trying to help her sister. She's trying to help prevent her sister from having to marry this asshole. I don't remember what it is about the guy, but there's some guy who's really trying to like marry her sister, and her sister is just like absolutely trying to avoid having to marry this man. And I don't remember what the situation is. It's been a while since I read this one, but for whatever reason, Astrid marrying Nathaniel will help her sister not have to marry this man. I can't remember like how that works out, but it does. And so she decides that she's going to marry the Beast of Beswick, Nathaniel. And Nathaniel is very scarred, and he's very upset about it. Again, like all of these heroes. He's very grumpy, and he is, he's a lot. They end up marrying, and the rest of the book is basically them dealing with his self-esteem issues. This one, I would say this was my least favorite. It's very, there's a lot of back and forth, hot and cold. By Nathaniel. He one minute is like, oh, she loves me, she's shown me that she loves me, and then the next minute he's like, oh, I don't think she truly loves me, I think she's lying. And he just kind of goes back and forth between that, and it drove me nuts. But at the end of the day, this is a very popular book, and there are a lot of people who do love this one, even though I didn't love it. I think that, you know, you should still give it a try. I believe I gave it 3 or 3.5 stars at the time that I read it. Maybe upon reread I would feel differently, but at the time that I read it, I felt that it was very much a yo-yo type of situation, where the hero was just kind of going back and forth about his feelings for the heroine. So yeah, I would say chat about it in the comment section if you felt differently about this book. But this is definitely my least favorite in this list. So I saved what I feel is the best in the list for last. This is by Stacy Reed, who's my favorite author. This is My Darling Duke. In this book, we have Catherine, or Kitty, and Alexander. And Alexander is a duke, and he is a recluse. And he has been living out in the countryside for years. Nobody's heard from him, seen him. And so Kitty, who is trying to help her family, they are in dire financial straits. She decides that she's going to pretend to be the fiance of Alexander, simply in the hopes that, you know, her sisters can find good marriage prospects, good matches. And she figures, since Alexander is a recluse and he doesn't come to town, nobody's seen or heard from him in years, that she will just get away with this. She can just pretend eventually down the line that, you know, they broke up and their engagement is no longer. But then she's at a ball one day when Alexander shows up. And Alexander is, he uses a wheelchair. So this has some disability rep in it. She assumes that he is going to be very upset with her and basically tell everyone about her subterfuge, but he decides that he instead wants to spend time with her and get to know her because he finds her very fascinating. He's like, who is this young girl that basically decided to just say that I'm her fiance? So he finds her fascinating, and he basically tells her, like, I won't say anything to anyone, but I'd prefer if you came with me and spent time with me out in the country and we get to know each other. This one is so good. This one is so good. I would say between this one and Yours Until Dawn, I would say those are probably the two best out of this list. It's just so good. It's so good. There's some funny moments, there's some tender moments. Like, this is a really good one. And Stacy Reed as a whole is just an amazing author. So yeah, definitely check this one out. If you've made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Leave me some comments in the comment section below. Tell me how you feel about these books, if you've read any of them, or if you want more information about any of them, let me know. If you have made it to the end of the video and you just want to show that you watched it all the way through, leave me a rose emoji, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.